Hi, Susan here. Okay, today we're going to be making the peg skirt, and that's what's next. Hey, hi guys. Before I get started, I want to thank you guys for being my Patreons. I really appreciate you guys. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up if you like this video. This is my fashion design French draping course that I have on my Patreon account. And I also want to reinforce the slopers. Remember the slopers I talked about earlier? That is the 5-piece sloper set that is the basis to every design. And I have developed and designed my 5-piece sloper set to be your model size or good mid-size 4/6 garment if you're actually trying to manufacture or make a line on your own. This is available. Go on my website, eliascouture.com. Click on the information for the sloper where you can purchase this, and you can also follow along with my teachings on Patreon and on YouTube. All right, let's get to it. So the peg skirt is a skirt that has fullness on the top, but very tapered on the bottom. It's narrower on the bottom. It's kind of an essential skirt to know and understand whether you actually ever make a peg skirt or not. It's good to know the principles of what a peg skirt is. So let's get it on this dress form now. Okay, the 3 ways to do the peg skirt are, I'm going to show you that. First, I want to let you know that I tore a piece of muslin, approximately the entire width of my muslin, which is 43 inches wide by about 31 inches long. And I turned back 1 inch here on the right-hand side just to give you this illustration. There are 3 ways to do the peg skirt. The first way is to have the straight grain in the center front. So I would pin that first here. Let's go ahead, I'm going to put it about 4 inches above the waist. Secure it here at the center front. And I put enough up here for allowance. Now what you do is you just take the muslin and very carefully kind of hike it upwards, a little bit like this. And when you hike it upwards, you get a very narrow portion on the bottom, and you get all this fullness on top. If I secure that down, just to show you that that grain will no longer be completely straight. It'll be slightly biased. You'll have all this excess here. You will have the ability to have this on the fold, so there'll be no seam in the center front, which is ideal. And you have it very narrow here on the bottom. That's the first way. Lady Gaga is wearing a version of the peg skirt with a design dress by Alexander McQueen at the Oscars. The second way is to have the straight grain in the center back. So I'm going to go ahead and put this, again, the folded back section, putting the straight grain that I pulled here on the center back just to secure that down. And putting this here at the waistline just to give you a better idea, and above the waist. Now you gently hold the muslin upward like this. You've got it straight in the back, and I'm going to go ahead and hike it upward. See how I'm hiking it upward like this? When I do that, you get very narrow here on the bottom, and you have a ton of fullness here at the waistline or hip line. And that also will make this seam or this grain line off. It'll be slightly biased. This is also great for like sarongs or wrap skirts, where you can go ahead and do it asymmetrically like that. And then the same concept would work with the straight grain in the front, in the back, center back, and a nice narrower hem for your sarong. That's the second way. The third way, putting the pulled straight grain, I put that on the side seam itself. So I'm going to go ahead and secure that on the side seam like this, meaning that's where my straight grain will be, like that. And then I'm going to hike this upwards like this, making it narrower here on the front. Hike this upwards like this, making this also narrow on the bottom. And then that's where you're going to have a bias seam in the center front and a bias seam in the center back with a straight grain going along your side seam. And that's all the fullness will be then absorbed in the waistline or the hip line of this skirt. Okay, I want to show you the one where the straight grain is in the front because that's the most useful one that you're going to need. Let's do that now. So I have a torn piece of muslin about 22 inches wide by about 32 inches long. I blocked and pressed it. Turn back that 1 inch for the center front. That's going to be the center front. I'm going to put it about 4 inches above the waist here. As you can see, pin it down at the center front, all the way down the center front, like this. Okay, and as we do that, okay, so once you have it secured here at the center front, like I said, giving yourself about 4 inches here above the waist, just like that. I'm going to go ahead and put a little marking here. That's what's underneath the waistline. I'm now going to take this piece of muslin and I'm going to gently pull it like this on an angle. I'm going to make it as narrow as I can on the bottom and pulling this here on the top. So I'm going to just put a pin like this. And I'm going to just hike it as far out. So you can see the center back is around here. So you can see how it's going to be biased now. I'm just going to pin it securely at the center back for now, and as I adjust it. So I just pulled it up. Let me show you that again. I'm just taking the muslin, wrapping it from the front, and then pulling it towards the back, hiking it upwards like this, pulling the bottom portion of this muslin tight, tight, tight along the bottom of this dress form cage. I'm going to go ahead and put my pins just like this and pin it just like that. And you can see this is the center back like this. Okay, so then you can see now that seam is just a little bias. You have all this fullness now here on the side. All this fullness. The best way to do that is take your thin elastic, get some 1/8 of an inch wide elastic, tie it around the waist like this. I'm going to go ahead and tie it like that and knot it. That way you can maneuver this extra. With a peg skirt, the whole object of the game is also to have it slightly full here on the side. That is the classic peg skirt, is where it kind of comes out a little bit and then straight down. You can put more or less, you know, if you don't want to make it that extreme. But so now you can just maneuver that excess, and it's usually wanting to go on the side seam itself. So as I maneuver that like that, and I'm going to just hold this up here, just so it's out of the way. Put some pins here as well, just so it's out of the way. And there's your peg skirt. You can take a long pin and just kind of maneuver it here with the actual fullness of the skirt. You can pull it up or down depending upon how much you want outside on this side seam. But a classic peg skirt should come out quite a bit. It should be a little bit more extreme, right? Like that. And as you do that, I'm just going to take a little bit more of it out, like that. And as you do that, you can see how nice and narrow it is down here and how full it is over here. That's your basic peg skirt, guys. That's your basic peg skirt. So now we're going to be doing the marking process. And all you're going to do is then take your pencil and dot right underneath that elastic band, which is going to hit you right at the waistline nicely. Dot, 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 all the way around. And you want to put a marking where your side seam is, so you know how much fullness is going in the front and how much fullness you want in the back to put into your waistband. Now we're just going to go ahead and dot, dot, dot all the way like this, all the way across, underneath there. And when you get to the center back, you're going to put the intersection going lengthwise and crosswise. And then you want to just dot here on that center back as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and dot where that center back is. Since I padded this, it's a little bit bumpy, but that is my center back. You can feel where that is and just go ahead and put those markings where your center back is. Feel it. And if you have a groove, go ahead and draw it out. The rest of it you can draw on the flat. Okay, we have all the markings that we need for this, and now let's get it on the flat. So here I am on the flat. You're going to need your 2" by 18" clear plastic ruler, your French curve, and your hip curve for this project. So now we have those dots here at the waistline, and you can see how it's hiking up. You have to follow those dots completely. So I'm going to go ahead and just take what ruler works for that space. All right, in the center front, you always want to go in at least 1/4 inch perpendicular like that. I'm going to go ahead and follow these markings and these dots as much as possible here on the waistline, just like that. Okay, and all the way around like this. I'm going to use my French curve because now it's more curved there. It kind of goes all the way down. So just whatever shape it wants to have, give the ruler that will work with that shape. Just like that. And I'm going to finish this off here as well on the center back. Then I'm going to go ahead and give myself 3/4 inch just in case it's not right. So I can adjust it on the form if that's a problem. Giving it 3/4 inch seam allowance, like that. So after I put the 3/4 inch there, I'm going to cut it on the cutting line to get rid of some of this fabric, like this. So now the center back, I want you to see this. You see how the center back now is not, this is the straight grain. This is where the line is. I'm going to go make it slightly curved here because I want to accommodate the butt. And then from there, I'm going to go ahead and make a straight line going all the way down. Can you see that? Okay, just like that. And then I'm going to give myself also 3/4 inch in the back in case there's any adjustments I need to make. There, 3/4 inch seam allowance, like that. And just like that. Okay, so because it's so narrow here on the bottom, what has to be done is sometimes it needs to be a curved hem because it is so narrow. So I'm going to go ahead and put my hip curve like this, making it straight at the center front portion and curving it slightly at the center back. I'm going to go ahead and put that line in like that, and I'm going to go ahead and curve it on the bottom as well. So I'm going to take this excess out. Like that. When you do something like the curve, you can't have a very big hem. But so the most you could probably put is there's 1 inch or maybe 1/2 inch. I'm going to just go ahead and pull that hem line up, put my pins going this way, like that. All the way, like that. All right, let's get it on the dress form now. Secure it there at the waist and the center front, just like that. Now I'm going to go ahead and secure it at the waist and center back like this. If you want, I can turn it back so you can see that seam better. Let's go ahead and turn it back. Secure it there. Okay. And I'm going to turn it back here as well. So that back seam is now kind of a bias seam, so be careful with that. Now we have all this fullness. I'm going to put this cross mark here at the waist and side seam, like that. And see how incredibly narrow it is on the bottom and the lower hip. That's ideal for a peg skirt. Now I'm going to put back the elastic on the waist so that we can gather that up again. I'm going to just tie a nice tight knot like that. I'm going to pull the waistline underneath just like this. Okay, like that. And you can see how it is performing beautifully. I'm going to go ahead and just put this, just going to move the elastic. I'm going to just move the gathers through the elastic where I want to see it, pulling it up like that. And you can see a nice little performance here on the side seam where the peg skirt is working out beautifully, right? That looks great. Okay, so like I said, this is a basic peg skirt. You can see that it's fitting nicely here, and at the waist it has that wonderful, beautiful fullness, and it's super narrow here on the bottom or the hem of the skirt. And there's your basic peg skirt. Okay, guys, I hope you like this video. So give me any questions if you have any on this process. I want you to understand this, even though this is probably a more of a dated type of a skirt, it is a very essential tool to know how to get a narrow hem on your basic straight skirt. So that's the concept, and this is the peg skirt. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.